Happy Monday. Welcome to Pushing the Limits. So glad you could be a part of the show and the PTL family. Hey, we got some big, exciting news in regards to this show and its expansion. We're going to be making that announcement here in just a little bit. We got some big guests lined up for you today. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch is going to be joining us here at the bottom of the hour. And of course, there's some new news in regards to the Jeffrey Epstein files. We're certainly going to get to that. Donald Trump holding a press conference earlier today to talk a little bit about that. Why is Donald Trump still defending Pam Bondi? Why is Donald Trump still have such huge support behind Pam Bondi, who refuses to release the Epstein files? Why is that? Why is that? I do find that very, very interesting. So we will be talking about that. We have Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, that is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes to discuss this. So I do find that very, very interesting. So a lot of other stuff to talk about. Donald Trump is now giving Vladimir Putin another 50 days. I don't know if you heard about that. Bizarre, because Donald Trump said the war in Ukraine would be over in 24 hours. And now Taco Trump is giving Vladimir Putin another 50 days. And what's going to happen at the end of 50 days? Again, you have Vladimir Putin, who is just playing Donald Trump like a fiddle. It is ridiculous. It is absurd. And we will certainly be getting to that as well. So a lot of stuff to get to today, a lot of stuff to talk about. And I do find it quite interesting that MAGA Republicans now all of a sudden don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. All of a sudden right now, they don't want to talk about the Epstein files. Charlie Kirk today on his podcast saying that he doesn't want to talk about the Epstein files anymore. They just want to trust the government. I find that a little bit bizarre, don't you? Why is it all of a sudden the MAGA world don't want to talk about Epstein? Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? So we're going to get Mark Epstein on the line here, the brother of Jeffrey Epstein, here in just a few moments to kind of talk about this, because I want to get his thoughts on this video that was released, this Pam Bondi video that was released that's missing 1 minute of the video, and it was a different camera angle. So I definitely want to ask Mark a little bit about that as well. And certainly over the weekend, there's a lot of other stuff to get to and a lot of other stuff to talk about. But I do find it very interesting that for years, MAGA Republicans have been talking about the Epstein files for years. But yet, now, all of a sudden, Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about it. Pam Bondi doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. Why is that? Why is that? Tell me why that is. Why is it that Dan Bongino took a day off on Friday on somewhat of a strike? Why is it that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are at odds with Pam Bondi? And why is it that Donald Trump seems to be backing Pam Bondi? Why is that? Explain to me why that is. Explain to me what's going on. Explain to me why there are so many MAGA Republicans that are so angry at Donald Trump now. They've been talking about the Epstein files for years. Explain to me why. Well, I'll tell you why, because I think Donald Trump was all over the Epstein files. I've been saying that for years. Donald Trump was on the flight log 7 times. We learned that in the Maxwell trial. So joining us right now on the line is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, who was nice enough to join us. Mark, I do appreciate you coming back on the show, sir. How are you?
So far, so good. How are you?
Doing okay, Mark. I appreciate you being here. I want to get your first reaction to this video that Pam Bondi released, but yet it's a different camera angle. And as you know, there's 1 minute that's missing from this video angle that was outside your brother's cell when he allegedly took his own life. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, did you get the photographs I sent to you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Could you put them up? Is that possible?
We will. Yeah, we are going to put those videos up later on in the program. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do that. But
okay, because my impression was that videos don't show anything.
They don't.
That's real. The pictures I sent you, I have the actual cell door to Jeffrey's cell. I have the picture of the tier that his cell is on, and I have the picture of the entrance to that tier, which is up a bunch of steps. So when I watched the video and they said someone was walking across and they put him into his cell, that's impossible. To get into Jeffrey's cell, you had to go up a flight of stairs into the tier, which has a barred, locked door, and then Jeffrey's cell was to the right of that door. So it's not just a matter of just walking somebody to a door on a flat surface and walking them into his cell. So I don't know what that video was, and the person who was in that video, you can't distinguish who that is. I tried to blow it up as best as I could. You can't see who that is.
Mark, what are they?
I think this is more BS.
Mark, what are they hiding? Why is Pam Bondi and Donald Trump not want to talk about your brother anymore all of a sudden? What are they hiding?
Well, why do they all cover it? Bill Barr started it after Jeffrey's death by stating that because he saw the videotape and nobody went in or out of the tier, that convinced him it was a suicide. Well, there were 12 other inmates on that tier that could have killed somebody, assuming he was killed. Also, to think that somebody could get to that cell, that tier door, go in, kill somebody, and leave completely undetected is just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Because there's 6 levels of security before you get to that tier, each with its own locked doors and guards and cameras. So when I first heard Bill Barr state that, I said, wait a second, they're covering something up. But I thought about that before then, because when they did the autopsy for Jeffrey, Dr. Roman, who was a city pathologist doing the autopsy, and Dr. Michael Barton was there witnessing it, they came out of the autopsy room saying they could not call this a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide.
Right.
Now, that fact is ignored and overridden on everything they put out. A few days later, Barbara Sampson, who was the chief medical examiner, she calls it a suicide. And that's what they rely on. They say the chief medical examiner called it a suicide. But let me tell you, Barbara Sampson never saw Jeff's body.
Right.
She was not at the autopsy.
Right.
So what information is she basing that decision on? She refuses to speak.
Here's what I don't understand, Mark. You have Pam Bondi, who's talking a lot about Epstein when she first got this job. You have Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who are talking about your brother constantly 24/7, it seemed like, for years, including the MAGA base. And now, all of a sudden, Donald Trump is annoyed when he's asked even a question about your brother. Pam Bondi lying, not releasing any of the files or any information. Don't you find it quite bizarre that this has all happened in the last few weeks, and now all of a sudden it seems like nobody in the Trump administration wants to talk about your brother? What do you make of that?
Well, it's just like their lies are closing in on them. You know, I don't believe, no one who looks at all the facts available really believes he committed suicide. It just doesn't make sense. People look at little bits and they question it and they say maybe it's a suicide. But people who have looked at a lot of the information, I can't say all because there's a lot of stuff, but people have looked at a vast majority of it. No one thinks he committed suicide. It doesn't make sense. You know, he had a hearing coming up in a few days to appeal his bail decision. Now, I knew Jeffrey as well as anybody. If he had a chance of getting bail, he would kill himself. Maybe if he had the hearing and the bail was denied, then I can see him taking himself out. And again, I always try to stress that when I first heard that Jeffrey was dead from an apparent suicide, I had no reason to doubt it. I thought, he was in jail. He was facing a potentially long sentence. He didn't have any children. to worry about. Now parents are gone. He knew he didn't have to worry about me. So I figured, okay, he decided to take himself out. And I respected that. But then when the autopsy was done and they said it looks more like a homicide than a suicide, and Bill Barr came out with that stupid statement, I'm saying, wait a minute, this is not legit. And then we find out cameras weren't working, the guards weren't doing their job, and all these other things. And then I found out about the bail hearing coming up. I knew he had the bail thing coming up. I didn't know when, but it was relatively new. You know, and it just doesn't make sense.
Mark, I know you're not one that likes.
You know, I've used the example before. And they use it in court. You know, if you go outside your house and the ground is wet and there's puddles and the cars are wet and there's water dripping off the trees, you know it rained. You might not have seen it raining, but you know it rained. You know, so I can't point to particular things here, but I sort of know this was not a suicide. Now,
Mark,
and then Cash Patel comes out and says, you know a suicide when you see it. And he states because he's a prosecutor and all sorts of other credentials. And my question is, how many suicides has he actually seen?
That's true.
And he didn't see Jeffrey's body. He wasn't at the autopsy. He wasn't at the prison. So how could he make a stupid statement like that?
That's true.
No credentials. Take Dr. Bodden. Dr. Bodden has done about 500 autopsies on prison deaths because he's been doing this for over 50 years. Mm-hmm. Dr. Roman, I don't know how many she did, certainly more than one. And they both, in their professional opinion, would not call it a suicide because it looked too much like a homicide. So I think people are covering up. I think, obviously, Trump doesn't want to talk about it because it doesn't look good for him.
Mark, I have to ask you this. And again, I know you're not one that likes to speculate, but do you think Donald Trump knows what happened to your brother? Do you think he knows the truth?
Well, I don't like to speculate, but I'd be surprised if he knows the truth.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, he's the president of the United States. Bill Barr was the attorney general who worked for Donald Trump. Cash Patel, the head of the FBI, who works for Donald Trump. You know, Pam Bondi works for Donald Trump. So if they know what's going on, he certainly knows.
And, you know, we've been told that this list was going to come out and all these Democrats were going to be on the list and all these lefties were going to be exposed, right? And now all of a sudden, Pam Bondi is saying there is no list. There's nothing to see here. Stop asking us questions. What do you make of that? I know your number one priority is you want to know the truth, what happened to your brother. And by the way, I don't blame you, and I'm on your side. I do believe he was murdered as well. I don't believe this was a suicide, just like you don't. It makes no sense to me. But don't you find it interesting that we've been hearing for years about this alleged list that was going to be released and all these people on the left that were going to be exposed, Mark? And now all of a sudden that list has disappeared. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, Jeffrey knew people on both sides of the aisle. He was a very friendly guy, and he knew lots of people. I never really thought there was any kind of list. I don't know what kind of list they were talking about. And again, I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not Jeffrey's defense attorney, so I don't get really into the charges against him. With all the things out there, that's not my job. It's not my position. I'm focusing on the circumstances of his. I used to say on his death. I now say on his murder.
What would you say to Pam Bondi if you had an opportunity to speak with her right now, Mark? What would you say to her?
Just stop bullshitting everybody.
And I would assume
that's what I would say.
I would assume you would probably say the same thing to Donald Trump, correct?
And maybe some other things too, but I would definitely say that, yeah.
You know Donald Trump. You guys spent some time together with your brother. Is there anything about those conversations that they had that you could share with us? Because, I mean, there were times where you guys spent time together.
Well, it wasn't a lot of time. We took a flight up together on Jeff's plane. We flew from Florida to New York, and Donald was with us. I used to fly with Jeff sort of regularly back in those days, but then stopped just because it was too inconvenient. Yeah. Because his schedule was varied. But we were on the plane. There was nothing really major or pertinent at that point in time. Yeah. I mean, Jeff and Donald were very good friends. They used to fly in each other's planes. They used to hang out together. Donald was at Jeff's office quite a bit. So, Donald comped my mother in Atlantic City and my aunts when I went there for a weekend. You know, they were friends.
Mark,
and I know Donald's trying to distance himself, but I know they were good friends.
When Donald Trump holds a press conference, which he did the other day, and he calls your brother a pedophile, and he calls him a horrible guy, and Pam Bondi says similar things, I'm wondering what goes through your mind when the president of the United States, who was once best friends with your brother, according to your own brother's statements, constantly calls him a pedophile and these other things. What goes through your mind, Mark, when he talks about your brother like that?
Well, look, Jeffrey was guilty of being with women that were too young. I know that. Jeffrey admitted that. So I don't have a problem that they go with pedophile, but I guess by definition you could say that. And again, that's not my concern. My concern was his murder. That's really what I'm focusing on.
I hope you get the truth, Mark. I really do. I'm on your side. I think the Trump administration has a lot to hide. I don't believe that he took his own life. And just proof of that is, like you said, a couple days he had a court appearance where hopefully he was going to be able to get out on bail, or at least he had the opportunity to. And I think that speaks volumes. It doesn't make any sense to me, Mark. Listen, I'm sorry for what you
just be aware the bail he was offering would have been the highest bail in the United States history by about 50% higher than the previous highest bail ever. Mm-hmm. So there was maybe a chance he got bail. Because look, in all reality, as distasteful as it might have been to some people, Jeffrey was not yet convicted of anything this time around. Yeah. So he was still innocent by definition, and you're entitled to bail in most cases if you can, satisfy the court's requirements. So Mark, there's a chance he could have got bail and he'd be home, living with an ankle bracelet and guards and cameras, but he wouldn't be in the jail.
I don't know if we're ever going to get the truth, Mark. Certainly you deserve it. Your family deserves it. I don't know if we're ever going to get the truth. We're certainly not going to get it when Donald Trump is president of the United States. That's for sure. I think that's already been proven. Listen, Mark, I appreciate your time, my friend.
Well, do me a favor. Look at the pictures I sent you.
I will.
You'll see the entrance to the tier. It's up the steps. You'll see the tier, and you'll see the cell door. Now, Jeff's cell door went in the tier, just so you know, is off to the right when you look at that picture. So his cell door is not visible in that picture of the tier, right? Because there are 4 cells on each side of the tier. Jeffrey's the first one, and that's cut off in that photograph. But that's the tier, and you could recognize that tier through the door when you look up the first photograph.
And that just gives us more.
And that's his cell door. So when they say they had photographs of his cell door, you tell me if you've seen that cell door.
No, they're lying.
Any of the videos.
They're lying. No, I can tell you right now, based on what you showed me, this video, they're lying. They're not showing the correct camera angle of your brother's cell. There's a minute that's missing. It shows absolutely nothing, and it proves that they're hiding something. Mark, I'm on your side 100%.
Well, here's another. One other thing about the videos. After Jeffrey's death, and Bill Barr referred to the video showing nobody went in or out of the tier, and that convinced him of the suicide. I asked for the footage from that camera from 10 o'clock at night until noon the next morning, because since Bill Barr said it showed the door that nobody went in or out of, it would have shown when the last people left that tier about 10:30 at night when they locked it up, and it would have shown when Michael Thomas went in the morning about 6:30 to serve breakfast when he found Jeffrey's body, and it would have shown them taking Jeffrey's body off of the tier. It would show who was there, who was involved, maybe who was running the show. Why did they move a dead body when they're not supposed to until the medical examiner comes? There's just so many questions here, so many things that were done wrong, that just to say that this was a suicide and write it off as that is just foolhardy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense to me either, Mark. And you deserve the answers. Mark, I always appreciate it when you do this show. I really do, my friend. And we'll talk soon, brother. And if you have any other information you want to share with us, please let me know, okay?
Just look at those photographs. That's plenty of information right there.
Yes, that is true.
What I'm talking about.
That is true, and we will definitely show those. Mark, I appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you very much.
Be well. Stay safe.
Thank you. Mark Epstein, everybody. That's the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. We will be showing those pictures a little bit later on in the program. We'll try to get those up. But Mark, listen, he wants the answers to how his brother died. Certainly the Trump administration is trying to hide something. What better person to have on to talk to us about the Trump administration? What better person to talk to us about this crazy Trump press conference? Well, there were a few that took place this morning. There's certainly a lot to talk about, and I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us right now. Ron, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there. Been busy.
I bet. There's certainly a lot to get to and a lot to talk about with you, Ron. I want to start with this. We just had Jeffrey Epstein's brother on. Again, we don't know what's going on with Dan Bongino. He took the day off on Friday. Apparently, they got into it with Pam Bondi. Trump doesn't want to talk about Epstein ever again. What do you make of this whole situation?
It's not going away. Trump wants it to go away. It's not going away. I think a lot of what Bongino is doing is very self-serving. It's really all about him. I mean, because, look, he gave up the radio show where he was making bank doing nothing and, just talking trash. And then, he gets this job and he gets embroiled in this Epstein controversy because he spent years on his radio show stirring up the controversy. And then he gets all this backlash and was like public enemy number one there for a few days when this all blew up. They were largely, MAGA was blaming him more than Patel, more than Bondi, more than Trump. It was all going on him because he made so many promises to them before he went in there. So I think what he was trying to do in, taking a day off Friday and acting like he was going to resign and it's Bondi or me, is trying to win them back. And I think that largely worked. I mean, he was incredibly successful, as bumbling as this guy is, at shifting all of the blame from himself to Bondi. And so it was just amazing. Like overnight, it was literally like everyone in MAGA was hating Bongino. And then it like turned on a dime where everyone was hating Bondi. And I think part of the problem is Bondi didn't make any statements in defense of herself. So, but I think that a lot of this is theater. I mean, I don't think he's going to resign. I don't think he's going to quit. I don't think she's going to be fired. This is just all, it's like everybody's pointing fingers at each other when really, I even said at the time, like, it's ridiculous to blame Bondi, Patel, or Bongino. This is all Trump. Trump is the one who told them not to put anything out. It's that simple. And, it's amazing that no one in the MAGA base really went after Trump until he made that deranged, insane post this weekend. Right. What was it, Saturday night?
Like 50,000
telling them that they shouldn't care about this.
50,000. And you had posted this on your social media. Like there's at least 50,000 angry replies to what Trump. What do you make of that?
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I've been on True Social from the first day, because remember, I covered MAGA movement. I've covered it every day for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And, when Trump started True Social, he was kicked off everything else. He was kicked off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So he actually created that platform just so he would have a social media, page, and also created it as a business. So what True Social is, it's all just Trump and his cultists. There's not even other members of Congress on True Social. Like I did an audit last year where something like only like 25 House members, Republican House members, even have True Social accounts, meaning like almost over 100 don't. There was like 2 senators that had True Social accounts, and even those are not even, they're just like cut and paste where they're moving stuff over from Twitter. So literally there's no Fox hosts on True Social. Literally nobody is on True Social except for Trump and his cult. And to see that kind of reaction from those cultists to him, I've never seen anything like it before. The closest I could come would be like abortion and the COVID vaccines. Where a couple times he tried to brag about warp speed and how many lives he saved, and he got a big backlash on that and he backed off. And a little bit on abortion, where he said he didn't want a federal abortion law. He wanted to leave it up to the states. Got a little backlash on that, but nothing like this. I mean, I went through those replies. They were just absolutely vicious. They are angry.
Yeah, and rightfully so. A lot of them probably should be angry. But Dan Bongino, let's talk about him for a moment, because it appears to me, Ron, that the guy is just pouting, and there were a lot of people that were going after him. So what does he do? He decides to take a powwow and take a day off from work on Friday, and the story comes out that he and Pam Bondi got into it, and for a day he was on strike. I feel like this is performative, and Dan Bongino is just trying to save face. How do you see it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about, because look, he's not going to, I don't see him being around like for 4 years or anything like that. I think he's going to do a year or two, and he's going to want to go back to that show and get that show rolling again. And he's going to have to start all over with that. And I don't know that he's going to get the same deal. I think, who is he with? Sirius? I think I'm not sure he's going to get anything like the deal that he had before.
True.
And so he's looking at that going, how am I going to get started all over again at my age when everyone in MAGA hates me and blames me for hiding Epstein now? Because, it's easy for him before as like low-level Secret Service agent to talk a bunch of smack and talk a big game. because like he never was held accountable to anyone for anything that he said. Well, now this is the first time he's actually been in a position of responsibility, you know, where he's having to answer to a constituency, and he is failing in that. So, and that's his audience. So this is the problem with a lot of these guys, whether it's Charlie Kirk or all of these, you know, MAGA podcaster influencers that make their living off MAGA, is they can only go so far. You know, they're walking that tightrope between their audience is pissed off and wants something done, and yet they don't want to criticize Trump too much, because if Trump, you know, flames them on social media, then that nukes their business too. Like Trump could wreck Charlie Kirk in a heartbeat if he said, don't follow this guy anymore, don't go to his, you know, his little turning point stuff.
Charlie Kirk today, Ron, went on his podcast, as you know,
after he talked to Trump.
Right. After he talked to Trump. And then he said, you know what? I trust the government. Let it be. For years, Charlie Kirk has been talking about the Epstein files and all these Democrats were going to be exposed. Literally for years, almost every day he'd bring it up. And now all of a sudden, after a conversation with Trump, you know what? I trust the government. Everything's fine. Let them do their work.
Look, I've seen Charlie do this 100,000 times. I've seen him do this so many times, where he will stake out, you know, a position on a particular issue, and then Trump will, and then say like, this is our line in the sand, you know, and then Trump will do the opposite, and then Charlie immediately changes position, because look, he depends on Trump for his business model. His business his business Turning Point was a struggling or small organization before 2016. He was not an early Trump supporter in 2016. He oftentimes criticized Trump during that primary. I forget who he backed. I want to say it was Ted Cruz. But I think he figured out at some point in 2017 that he needed to go all in on Trump to grow his business. And that is exactly what he did. And so Trump controls really his livelihood. You know, like I said, if he ever pulled it, that would be the end of Kirk. But, you know, I want to talk about the politics of this for a second, because, you know, I hear oftentimes, I'll say this, when I switched parties, you know, I was a Republican my whole life, switched parties 5 years ago. One of the biggest differences between the two parties, the grassroots, at the grassroots level, is Republicans always think that they're winning. Even when they're losing, they think that they're winning. Like there's overconfidence. Democrats are the opposite. No matter how good things are going, Democrats I've seen this so much, where they'll tend to find the dark lining in the cloud. You know, let's find why this hurts us, you know, and that's a little frustrating to me. Like, I don't think being overconfident is good, but at the same time, like, I get frustrated when something good happens that, you know, looks like it's going to help Democrats, and they're always looking to like downplay it.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, what I've heard, I'm trying to report that this is a very big deal in fracturing the MAGA movement. And I get this pushback from many grassroots Democrats, like, they're always going to stick with Trump. They're always going to be loyal to Trump. You know, they're not going to drop him. Look, this is not the point. Let me explain the point. The point is, in the midterms, there's going to be about 25 to 30 House races that are going to be decided by 3 points or less. And there are going to be about 4 to 5 Senate races that are going to be decided by 3 points or less. And that is going to decide the balance of power in those two chambers. The Republican Party has already had a problem getting the MAGA base to show up when Trump is not on the ballot, which happened in 2018 and 2022. He is not on the ballot in 2026. So you have this MAGA base, this chunk of this MAGA base, who doesn't care about the Republican Party. They only care about Trump. And the Republican Party is going to be asking them to show up in 2026. And what this does, midterms are decided by two things: enthusiasm and anger. And the party who is enthusiastic about their candidates and angry at the government and the party in power is going to win, and win big. And that's what this contributes to. It's about turnout. If you can just get 3% of these people that are mad not to show up, I'm not saying they're going to hate Trump, just not to show up, then you have a blue wave, you know? And so that's the point, And Democrats need to like embrace that and be happy about that and not be like, oh, they'll always back Trump.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. 3% would turn a lot of different things in 2026. I agree with you. Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us. I wanted to just ask you a little bit about this prayer luncheon with some of these faith leaders that Trump was a part of. And he's telling a story about what he talks about an ugly billionaire whose trophy wife might leave him if he didn't get his tax cuts. And you tweeted about this today. I mean, this is typical Donald Trump, right? Talking about an ugly billionaire with a bunch of supposed right-wing evangelical faith leaders. What do you make of this moment today?
Okay, I'm going to apologize if I give a longish answer to this question.
That's okay.
Because this has been a subject that I have covered for many years and been very fascinated with, is Trump's relationship with evangelicals. Because, he figured out back in 2016 and his advisors that he needed them to win the Republican primary, and they understood. And let's be clear, he was running against a bunch of Bible thumping evangelical, candidates, opponents in that Republican primary, a bunch of them. And Trump never went to church. He doesn't know anything in the Bible. He's not religious in any way. I doubt that he even believes in God. He may, but he's certainly not like an observant, practicing Christian. Mm-hmm. And so that was always the weakness for him. But he got a bunch of these faith leaders like Tony Perkins down in Texas and Franklin Graham to vouch for him and the Christian Broadcasting Network. I went back and watched so many of those interviews that he gave to the Christian Broadcasting Network in 2016, where he's faking his way through the Bible and he's asked 2 Corinthians and all this stuff. And it's just like sickening. So here you have this prayer, he installs this faith office, which is run by Paula White Cain, whose husband is the bass player for Journey, who wrote the song Open Arms and Faithfully. That's her husband, right? Jonathan Cain. And by the way, Neil Sean, the guitar player, hates Jonathan. They hate each other because Neil Sean is a Democrat and doesn't like Trump, and Jonathan is a big Trump supporter. Anyway, they don't talk politics. So that's just a side note. But she is the one presiding over this prayer luncheon, and it's always fascinating to me to watch Trump in front of religious groups, because he tries to like fake it, but he just can't. He has no skills in this area. He doesn't know the lingo. He doesn't know how to appeal to these people and talk to these people. And so, they give this prayer, and these people always talk about him as the Messiah, and he was saved by God in Pennsylvania and all this kind of nonsense. This is the messaging that they put out to their people, that this is God's chosen, president. And, he gets, then they finish the prayer and he gets up there to speak, and he starts rambling on about the stolen election and, Russia, and this and that. Right. And then he riffs into a story about how he has this ugly billionaire friend who's got a lot of money and a young, hot trophy wife. And that he told him he better hope that he gets those tax cuts through so he can remain a billionaire. Otherwise his trophy wife is going to leave him. And I'm like, he's saying this to like pastors, but these are political pastors, right-wing political pastors. So they all laughed, which is pretty sick.
Beyond sick and despicable. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Vladimir Putin, because you've covered this better than anybody. All the times Donald Trump has said, I'll end the war in 24 hours before he even becomes president. He said, all I have to do is pick up the phone. Well, today, Ron, as you know, he's giving Vladimir Putin 50 days. And then he's asked, well, what if Putin doesn't stop doing what he's doing in 50 days? Well, I'm not going to tell you. What do you make of this 50 days that he's giving Putin? And do you feel like the Kremlin are just laughing at this guy and playing him for the fool that he is?
Yeah, I mean, they're laughing. First of all, his 30% tariffs against the EU take effect in 17 days. So he's giving Putin more time. I mean, the Europeans and the Ukrainians have been wanting Trump to do something to Putin. Keep in mind, he's done nothing. He's imposed no sanctions. There are things he can do. And also keep in mind, these are secondary tariffs, meaning that these are actually not going to be tariffs imposed on Russia. What they are is tariffs imposed on any country that buys oil from Russia, which is some European countries and others. They will get tariffed not Russia, right? Because we don't hardly buy anything from Russia. So it's just ridiculous that the guy who promised, end the war in 24 hours is now, here we are, 7 months into the administration, 6 months in, and he's giving him another 50 days before he does very little.
What do you think is going to happen when the 50 days runs out? Because you know as well as I do that Vladimir Putin is not going to give in. He's going to continue doing what he's doing and killing innocent people and continue the airstrikes. What do you think is going to happen at the end of 50 days? And do you also find it interesting, Ron, the fact that he's basically doing exactly what Joe Biden did? He was saying that if Joe Biden continues to arm Ukraine, there's going to be a World War III. And now Donald Trump is doing the exact same thing that Joe Biden was doing.
This 50-day tariff announcement today is a distraction, because he had this planned meeting with the NATO Secretary General today in the Oval Office. He decided to have press in there. By the way, this is another thing Donald Trump keeps doing to foreign leaders, is that they think that they're coming in, and there's been a lot of reporting on this, that they're coming in to have closed door meetings with Trump or State Department officials. And then literally they're finding out like 5 minutes before, hey, we're going to do this in front of the press. He did this to Melania. He's did this to Zelensky. Like, these foreign leaders are not aware that there's going to be press in these meetings. He sandbags them every time. So that's got to annoy them. And he did it today. So what the NATO Secretary General wanted to hear from Trump was, he's putting Patriot batteries in there. He's going to resume weapons shipments, drone shipments. They make their own drones, but artillery shells, the things that they need. This is what he wanted to hear. So he gets in this meeting, the press is put in there, and Trump makes this grand announcement. Oh, I'm going to put secondary tariffs on Russia in 50 days. Trust me, that is not what Rudy wanted to hear. Rutte is his name. I think that's how you say it. That is not what he wanted to hear. He doesn't want to hear secondary tariffs in 50 days. He wants to hear Patriot batteries are going to Kyiv tomorrow. So again, this is Trump, the master distractor. And if he has one superpower, it's that. Everybody wanted to hear about Patriot batteries and weapons going in there. And instead, the media is now all reporting on secondary tariffs in 50 days. So Trump, he pulled it off again. He successfully said, look over here at this shiny object. Don't look at this big problem right in front of us.
Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Ron, I would imagine you have a very busy day today. Talk to me a little bit about your Substack and what you're working on and what you're going to be releasing today.
I mean, I'm writing a lot about what we just talked about. A lot of the political stuff, writing a little bit about Laura Trump, getting in the North Carolina Senate race, which is looking like it's a possibility. Talking a little about in my Substack too about Barack Obama's speech over the weekend in New Jersey, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Democrats toughen up.
Yeah. I like that message. And so, a little bit of that too. So today's Substack, some of the past, half the column would be on one particular subject, but this one's like a box of chocolates. There's like a little bit about like 50 different things.
Understandable. There's a lot to talk about. Another busy news day. Ron, one of the toughest and hardest working guys in the industry. Love what you do over there with your Substack and love the guys at Midas Touch. Ron, it's always a pleasure, my friend. We'll let you get back to work and always appreciate it when you take the time to come on, my friend. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, got to follow Epstein's brother, huh? That's quite
yeah. Mark's done my show a few times. He's obviously not a fan of Donald Trump, and he certainly believes that Trump might have had something to do with his brother's death. And you know what? While we're all speculating on it, it certainly every day appears that Mark might be right.
Yeah.
You never know. Ron, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Ron. See ya. Ron Filipkowski, everybody, with Midas Touch, one of the best in the business. Always love having him on every week. He is fantastic. And we just had Mark Epstein on, the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. So there's a lot to dissect in these two interviews. So here's what we are going to do. I have some audio to play for you when we come back from break. As you know, Donald Trump met with the NATO Secretary General at the White House and embarrassed himself on a national stage. We have the audio to prove that for you, and we are going to play that for you when we come back. Also, when we come back, we have some huge news as far as this show is concerned, and it's very good news. The show is expanding. And I told you guys about 6 or 7 months ago, there were some things that are in the works. By the way, there are still some things that are in the works with some other companies. But we have a huge announcement to make. And when we come back from break, we are going to tell you who we are collaborating with in expanding the show. We'll also take some phone calls on the other side. And that number to call, of course, is 702-221-7283. We're going to play some audio first. And I'm going to have a big announcement today as far as the show is concerned. So we'll get that to you when we come back. We'll be back after a very short break. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Two big guests we just had. If you missed it, we had Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, joining us on the show. He basically said that Pam Bondi and Donald Trump are full of you-know-what. We talked a little bit about the video that they released, which isn't even really the video outside of Jeffrey Epstein's actual jail cell. We learned that from Mark Epstein, who joined us, who had pictures that he shared with me, which I eventually will be sharing with all of you. He certainly thinks there's a very good chance, he said on the show, that Donald Trump knows the truth about what happens to his brother. And we just had Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us. All right, so we have some big news to share with all of you. I'm really excited. This has been in the works for a while, and I'm really excited to share this with you. Today is day one where we have teamed up with the Really American Media Network. You'll be able to live stream our show on their YouTube via the Really American account. By the way, on their YouTube page, they have over 600,000 subscribers. The Really American Twitter, which is RA Media Network, and the Really American Facebook page, where they have 1 million followers on there as well. It's great. I want to thank Justin Horowitz and Kenny Hess at Really America for giving PTL and their audience a new home. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. We're going to have some more news to share with all of you guys tomorrow. I just got off the phone with Justin Horowitz. We're both really excited for this collaboration. This is a huge media entity. Like I said, 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, I've got like 124,000 subscribers, so they have a huge audience there, and 1 million on Facebook. So I'm really excited, and I also, of course, want to thank Grant Stern, executive editor with Occupy Democrats, for giving me the opportunity to be on the Occupy Democrats network, which has been great. It's built my audience, and I'm very grateful to Grant as well. But he is sticking with me as an independent producer with Really American Media. So I'm really excited to be teaming up with these guys, and I'm so happy. And like I said, I just got off the phone with Justin Horwitz. We were actually supposed to launch tomorrow, and we have some more big announcements to make tomorrow, but we are actually on their YouTube page and on their Facebook page live right now. So this is going to be a long partnership, and I'm really excited to be a part of what they're doing. I love the Really American Network. I think they're fantastic. They certainly align with my politics on a lot of different issues, and we're glad to have their audience joining us today. And for the audience that might be watching us for the first time, you're not going to find a more interactive show than this show. We have big guests. Today's a perfect example of that. We get some of the biggest guests in the business every single day, but it's also an interactive show, and it's one of those few shows where we always want to hear from you, and we get calls not only all over the country, but all over the world every day. So happy to be a part of this network. Really exciting, the Real America Media Network. We have officially launched today. I'm really excited for it, and it's really going to make the audience even bigger than it has become over the course of the last year or so. So I'm really excited about that. So, as I mentioned, Donald Trump met with the NATO Secretary General at the White House earlier today. He was asked a lot of questions about Vladimir Putin. He was asked questions about Zelensky, the war in the Ukraine, and even the Epstein files. So a reporter asks Donald Trump today, if Putin escalates this, what are you willing to do in response? This interaction just shows you Taco Trump in real time. Have a listen to this.
If Putin escalates further, how far are you willing to go in response?
In what?
How far are you willing to go if Putin were to escalate, send more bombs in the coming days?
Don't ask me a question like that. How far? I want to get the war settled. They're not Americans that are dying in it, and I have a problem, and JD has a problem. It's a stance that he's had for a long time. They're not Americans dying, but there are a lot of people dying, and on something that should be able to be settled. And we all agree with that. This group of people, we want to defend our country, but ultimately, having a strong Europe is a very good thing. It's a very good thing. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, what a great response. What are you going to do if Putin escalates and this 50-day pause or 50 days you're giving Putin, whatever you'd like to call it? What are you going to do about it? Oh, don't ask me a question like that. Maybe he'll send him more COVID test kits. Donald Trump's going to do nothing. He's been played by Vladimir Putin. He's been embarrassed by Vladimir Putin. And we all know that there was this pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine in order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. And now Donald Trump is doing the exact same thing that Joe Biden was doing when Donald Trump said it would create World War III. So this reporter asked him this question. Have a listen to this.
In fact, they're coming over. They'd like to talk to us.
Mr. President, is there any concern about the U.S. stockpiles? There was a pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine in order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. What came out of that?
Evaluation. I mean, this was a very big, what we're talking about today is a very, very big day. And what Pete was doing, and me too, I knew what Pete was doing, was evaluation, because we knew this was going to happen. And now we actually announced it. They voted on it. It's all been done. So obviously that has a big impact on, when you say pause, obviously you're not going to be doing things if you don't know what's going to happen here. But we were pretty sure this was going to happen, so we did a little bit of a pause. But this is a very big, event today. This is something very...
If Putin escalates...
Yeah, an evaluation, sure. You frickin' lying buffoon, you orange orangutan, you idiot. We all know that's a lie. We all know that Pete Hegseth put this pause in place. He didn't tell you, Mr. Orange Orangutan lying leader, you liable adjudicated rapist. He didn't tell you. He didn't tell anybody else in the White House. We know that through some great reporting. You're lying. He didn't tell you. He put this pause. God knows how many lives were lost, how many people were murdered because of this pause, because Pete Hegseth is an abusing idiot. And you're going to lie to the American people because you won't admit the fact that your Secretary of Defense didn't tell you. And now all of a sudden you're doing the exact same thing that Joe Biden did in sending this artillery back to Ukraine. You said it would create World War III. You're doing the exact same thing that our former president did. You lying orange orangutan, you. And then a reporter asks, why are you giving Vladimir Putin 50 more days. You said the war would be over in 24 hours. You're almost 6 months into your presidency, and now you want to give Vladimir Putin almost another 2 months? And have a listen to the way Taco Trump answers this question.
Any questions, please? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. What was the tipping point for you in making this decision? Was it a conversation with President Putin? Was it a piece of intelligence? And why are you giving 50 more days?
I think it's a very short period of time. I think they'll forget. I've just really been involved in this for not very long. And it wasn't initial focus. This is a Biden war. This is a Democrat war, not a Republican or Trump war. This is a war that would have never happened. It shouldn't have happened. A lot of people being killed. When the final numbers come in, you're going to see a lot more people are being killed in this war than you think, than you've been writing about. It's a very deadly war. They're all bad, but this is a very deadly war. The numbers are going to be far greater. When an apartment house comes down, and they say 2 people were slightly injured. No, many people were killed. And those numbers will be at some point accurately reported. So far, they're not. It's a deadly war. I think that you're just going to see. I think you're going to see strong movement. I hope so. I hope so.
And what about
the secondary tariffs are very, very powerful.
Yeah, very, very powerful. They're really working, these tariffs. They're very powerful. And we need to get lectured by Donald Trump and how many people are being murdered. You're the one who thinks that. You've said it time and time again. How many times in the last 5 months has Donald Trump said Putin wants peace? And then within 24 hours, there's another airstrike where they're trying to kill as many innocent people as possible, women and children in Ukraine. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump wants to tell us, yeah, I guess Putin's full of crap. Now all of a sudden, Trump wants to tell us how many people have lost their lives in this war. We know how many people have lost their lives. We know Vladimir Putin invaded our allies. We know what an evil, murderous dictator Putin is. You're the one that's been calling him a genius. You're the one that's been saying he wants peace. You're the one that told us that you believe Zelensky's a dictator. You're the one that told us you believe Ukraine started the war. How did that work out for you? You bumbling orange buffoon, you liar. You 34-count felonious liar, you. But you want to hear Donald Trump talk really tough on Russia? Because all these MAGA buffoons out there will say Donald Trump is so tough on Russia. He's the toughest president we've ever had on Russia. Well, listen to Donald Trump talk about Vladimir Putin. Really tough. Just slap him on the wrist. I've heard kindergarten teachers be tougher on their students than Donald Trump is on Vladimir Putin. Listen to this.
And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war, I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Yeah, he's very unhappy. Listen, folks, I'm making this analogy because I'm not making this up. I've heard kindergarten teachers literally be more tough on their students than Donald Trump is on Putin. Vladdy, I'm very unhappy with you. Very unhappy. Hey, Vladimir, knock it off. That's really all we've heard from Donald Trump. No sanctions, nothing. Oh, well, I'm going to tariff the hell out of Russia. Yeah, okay. I'm sure the Kremlin is laughing at Donald Trump like they have for years, even the first go-around when he was president. It is ridiculous. It is pathetic. And Taco Trump was in full form this morning. Listen to this bumbling orange orangutan idiot continue.
I would say.
How did you deliver this news to Putin, sir?
Say?
How did you tell Putin this was coming?
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. And I said, it's strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. I say, isn't that a very lovely conversation? And then the missiles go off that night. I go home, I tell the First Lady, I spoke to Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, look, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But what I do say is that at a certain point, ultimately talk doesn't talk. It's got to be action. It's got to be results. And I hope he does it. It's potentially such a great country to be wasting so many people on this and the money. And look at what's happened to his economy. Look at what's happened. So,
and with the threat in 50 days,
yeah,
economy will be hit very hard.
I mean, look, I hope he's going to do it. He knows the deal. He knows what a fair deal is. If there is such a thing as a fair deal, there's no winners here. This is a loser. This is a loser. And I dealt with him from the beginning. It wouldn't have happened, but I will say Ukraine was the apple of his eye. We talk about it. It was the apple of his eye, but it wasn't going to happen. And he understood that. It wasn't going to happen. And then I noticed, after I was out, I noticed soldiers forming at the border.
Yeah.
And then I heard horrible, stupid things being said from the other side. And I said, they're really handling it very, very wrong. It's a shame.
Yeah, all right. So a lot to dissect there. It is a shame. First of all, he's saying that Vladimir Putin played Barack Obama and Joe Biden when this is the same idiot who said he would be able to end the war in 24 hours. Actually, he campaigned on that. He said all he'd had to do was pick up the phone and talk to Putin, and he would end the war within 24 hours. Here we are almost 6 months into his administration. Vladimir Putin has played him like a fiddle, and he wants to say, well, he hasn't fooled me. He's fooled Joe Biden. He's fooled Barack Obama. It's Joe Biden's war. It's not my war. Yet COVID happened under his watch. So was COVID his war? I mean, it's so ridiculous. And now we're in an ill-advised war with Iran. And he wants to tell us that this is Biden's problem when he campaigned on he would end the war within 24 hours. How's that going, MAGA? How's that going? I'll tell you what's going to happen. I will predict the future, ladies and gentlemen. The Kremlin is laughing at this 50-day thing that was put in place by Trump earlier today. 50 days are going to go by. Nothing is going to change. And then Donald Trump won't want to talk about Vladimir Putin and the war in the Ukraine no more than he wants to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's what's going to happen. And while all this is going on in the world, and we're entered into another war with Iran, and the Ukraine war is worse off now than it was on day one, we are headed towards a recession. People are going to be losing their medical coverage and Medicaid, maybe upwards of 15 to 20 million people. People are losing their jobs. They're suffering in this country. Many people are going to lose their food stamps. And while all this is going on, a typical MAGA Republican buffoon like Donald Trump is talking about Joe Biden and transgenders.
To them about it. I think they had, it's called a freewheeling auto pen. Like, Biden was never for open borders. Biden was never for transgender for everyone. So I don't think I think the radical left people that took over the White House, and if I didn't win, our country was finished.
Yeah, there you go. Our country was finished. It was dead a year ago. Look at how wonderful we're doing now. It would have been finished if I didn't win. And Donald Trump talking about transgenders in front of the NATO Secretary General. What an embarrassment he is. Yeah, because that's number one in everybody's list, right? God forbid a transgender athlete is competing on a women's volleyball team, because that's far more important than people not able to put food on the table, living paycheck to paycheck while you give the biggest tax breaks to the top 1% in American history. And you got us into another ill-advised war with Iran. The war in Ukraine is still going on. There's certainly no peace in the Middle East. But let's talk about those transgenders. This is what these MAGA idiots do every day. They want to ban books. They want to attack the LGBTQ community. They want to attack trans people. And they think drag queens are bad and undocumented immigrants are the reasons why there's so much crime in this country, which couldn't be further from the truth. Oh, yeah, by the way, more unidentified ICE agents kidnapping people over the weekend throughout the country. More ICE agents that aren't identifying themselves outside of courtrooms, arresting people and separating people from their families, while J.D. Vance is running around with his family having a good old time. By the way, did you see that video of J.D. Vance dancing? Have you ever seen anybody or not dancing, I should say running. I don't know if it was a dance/run. Have you ever seen a man run like J.D. Vance runs? Oh my goodness gracious. Can you imagine watching J.D. Vance and Donald Trump run in like a 50-yard dash? Holy schmagoli. And then lastly, we were told 90 deals in 90 days. Right? I'm not making this up. Peter Navarro, members of Donald Trump's administration, even Donald Trump said he would make 200 deals. So what happened to that? At maximum, we've had 2 deals made, and those weren't even good deals for the United States of America. But now Donald Trump is claiming because we sent a sophomoric letter to a world leader, we sent a bunch of letters, that somehow that's a deal, and it doesn't matter what's in the letter. So long as he sends the letter, that's the deal that was made. I'm not making this up, folks. Donald Trump reiterated that again this morning in front of the NATO Secretary General, that somehow sending a letter out is a deal.
You've praised European countries today as standing up for Ukraine, as being strong. Will you allow them to continue to negotiate tariffs lower than 30% before August 1st, or is the deal set at this point?
What does that mean? You mean you're talking about the tariffs?
On trade, on tariffs.
You're back on tariffs. You're on a more friendly tariff, right? A little bit more friendly tariff.
Perhaps.
No, we're going to be talking to people. We have, I watched the show this morning. They were talking about, well, when's he going to make the deal? The deals are already made. The letters are the deals. The deals are made. There are no deals to make. They would like to do a different kind of a deal, and we're always open to talk. We are open to talk, including to Europe. In fact, they're coming over. They'd like to talk.
So wait a second. Let me get this right. It's a deal if you send a letter. So is that how it works in business? I guess that's the art of the deal. If the other party rips up the letter and laughs at it, which I would imagine a lot of these world leaders are going to be doing, that somehow that there's a deal that was made. And they want to say this guy is the art of the deal maker, 90 deals in 90 days. But apparently now it's moved from 90 deals in 90 days to 2 deals in 90 days, arguably 2 deals in 90 days. And somehow if I write a letter to somebody, that must mean that a deal was made. You know how ridiculous that is? That would be like, I don't know. I've always had a crush on Jessica Alba. I think she's beautiful. So if I wrote a letter to Jessica Alba and I said, hey, I'd like to marry you, does that mean we're married? I'm being serious. That's how ridiculous Donald Trump is. He's making it sound like if we write a letter, that's a deal. So if I write a letter to Jeff Bezos asking him for $1 million to invest in the Pushing the Limits radio show, does that mean I have a deal with Jeff Bezos? No, he would probably rip it up and laugh at it, although that would probably be a good deal for him, a good investment. But in all seriousness, that's how ridiculous Donald Trump is. Apparently, if you write a letter that a high schooler could write, somehow that's a deal that has already been made. It is absolutely ridiculous. So there's a lot we're talking about today, of course. We're talking about Donald Trump, his meeting with the NATO Secretary General. We're taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. We had Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, on the program to start the show. Don't worry if you missed it. We'll repost it. We'll put it on our social media platforms for you. He believes that Donald Trump knows what really happened to his brother, which is not shocking to hear that. We also had Ron Filipkowski on the show, and there's certainly a lot to get to and plenty to get to. And I also welcome everybody with the Really American Network. Huge following, 600,000 followers on their YouTube page, 1 million on their Facebook page. And we're so glad to be a part of Really American Media Network. And we're taking your phone calls now. The number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, now's the time to do it. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Mark. Mark is first up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on?
Oh, Brian, first I want to congratulate you on your new deal.
Thank you.
But let me tell you, I was laughing the last 10, 15 minutes of your show. I cannot believe what is happening. Trump is a strategic master. Now, according to Lev Parnas, and we all know who Lev Parnas is,
sure,
the Trump MAGA base was built on the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were built on, he said. And he said the only thing that could take MAGA apart is the lying of the Epstein files.
Yeah.
And Trump knows this. And what did Trump do? He has now changed the entire subject, talking about tariffs that are not going to happen, talking about all these lies, and he's got the media talking about it. He's got you talking about it. All this is staged. He's getting the conversation off of the Epstein files, and he needs to do that because he'll lose his base. That's what Parnas said. Everything else is a distraction, and your show is falling for it. But now here's another thing. Maxine Glasswell, whatever her name is, she's now filing an appeal with the Supreme Court because she's claiming that she should be released because Trump stated there's no list. So how can she be imprisoned if there's no list and there was nothing going on?
Well,
and we're going to see how the Supreme Court acts on that.
Well,
you're being distracted by all this nonsense.
Mark, I would respectfully disagree with you. It's not that we are being distracted. It is that we are calling out Donald Trump for his BS. We are calling out Donald Trump for making excuses for his lies and campaign promises that he would be able to end the war within 24 hours. And we are covering the news and we're covering the press conference. I mean, that's certainly what I'm going to do. While I don't agree with anything Trump said this morning, I wouldn't say anybody's falling for it unless you're in the MAGA cult. We are continuing to hold his feet to the fire. He said he would end the war within 24 hours. The Kremlin is laughing at him with this 50 days that they have. Imagine all the people that are going to lose their lives within 50 days. I appreciate the call, Mark. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Owen. Owen is next up on PTL. Hey, Owen, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to comment on that last caller there. The MAGA base is not built on the Epstein files, sir. It's built way before then. Way back. It's called Pizzagate. Do you guys remember that?
Jack Posobiec is the guy who lied and started the whole Pizzagate scandal. I've done the Piers Morgan show with him. He's a fool. And that was a lie. As you know, that was a conspiracy theory, and people's lives were in jeopardy because of that conspiracy theory.
Well, I'll tell you what, it wasn't a conspiracy when the emails are all right there to be read on the document, sir.
What emails are you talking about? There was no Pizzagate scandal. Was anybody prosecuted? What were the charges?
Well, they weren't prosecuted because it was the Clintons, the Bushes.
Okay,
the
where's your
Obamas.
evidence? And where's your evidence of that, sir? Where was that proven in a court of law?
Look it up.
I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you that I should look it up. You're the one who's making the claim. Where is the evidence that Obama and the Clintons?
It's on the declassified documents.
What
sir.
documents? What documents? What
website.
documents? No, sir. There is nothing like that on any government website, and you have absolutely
yes, there is, sir. I'll pull it up for you.
You have no idea what you're talking about. There was no Pizzagate scandal, and I'm not going to entertain conspiracy theories.
Yes, there was.
Okay, let me guess. You're the guy who thinks Donald Trump won the 2020 election too, right, sir?
Well, no, actually, that was proven to be false.
No, where was that? What was proven to be false? What was proven?
Have you ever seen the movie 2000
Yeah,
Mules?
and that was actually debunked. And the guy Dinesh D'Souza was in a courtroom, and he actually had to pay out a lawsuit. Are you aware of that, sir? He admitted that.
What about the lawsuit?
No, sir. Sir, I asked you a question. That means you have to answer it. You just said 2,000 mules, which is laughable, and it shows your ignorance and stupidity. He was in a courtroom and he was sued. He had to pay out a lawsuit because he put stuff in there that was not true, and he openly admitted that in a courtroom. Are you unaware of that as well, and can you possibly be this stupid? I guess that's my question for you,
I am unaware of that.
Oh,
I am
you were,
unaware
of course
that,
you were,
sir.
of course you were unaware of that. So nobody was prosecuted. There was no Pizzagate scandal. There are no government files about it. No, there wasn't.
Scandal. How
Okay,
can you
sir,
say that?
sir, you're a complete imbecile and you have no idea what you're talking about. Is there anything else you want to bring up? There was no Pizzagate. By the
I want
way,
to bring up
by
how
the way,
China,
you make,
how
hold on a
China
second. Hey,
manufactured
sir, you're the guy who says that there's a Pizzagate scandal when nothing has been proven in a court of law. Yet 25 women have come forward from the guy that you support that claim that they were the victims of sexual assault from Donald Trump. He was found liable for sexual abuse in a court of law. And Donald Trump's own ex-wife testified under oath in documents that he raped her. You see how I come with the receipts, sir? What do you think? What do you think? Hey, dummy, why don't you answer my question and stop bringing something else up?
Don't call me names, sir.
I just called you a dummy. What are you going to do about it, you MAGA buffoon? You're a waste of my time.
Why are you being so rude?
I'll tell you why I'm being so rude, because idiots like you are the reason why Donald Trump, a 34-count felon, liable abuser, is the president of the United States. Middle-aged, white, uneducated idiots like you. That's why I'm being rude to you, because you deserve it. Because you call into the show and you try to spread conspiracy theories that have been debunked. You're an imbecile. You are Donald Trump's base. And I am not going to be nice to people who call into the show who spread lies and conspiracies, and they're too stupid to even understand it. So I'm not going to be nice to you, sir. People like you are a disgrace to this country, and I hope you get deported to Gaza. What do you think about that, trash? You're trash. What do you think about that?
You're a Vegas idiot.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a Vegas idiot. Thank you. I'm a Vegas idiot. You keep going with your Pizzagate conspiracy theories, you dope. Have a nice day. You're not wasting 2 more seconds of my airtime, you inbred MAGA imbecile, you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly is next up on PTL. What's up, Shelly?
Brian, will you not be so rude to your listeners, please?
I can't help it. I can't help
it.
And
I want to say one thing, and I'll be really quick. Friday, that was the evil Shelley. That wasn't the good Shelley. And
yes,
everybody knew it, and I'm sure everybody could tell my West Virginia accent. But I just want to thank everybody for sticking up for me and knowing
absolutely.
It wasn't
Shelley,
me.
Absolutely. If for those of you that weren't listening Friday, yes, there was another Shelley who called in who sounded like the buffoon who just called in. How could I have a conversation with somebody who believes in Pizzagate, who literally is a complete imbecile who has no idea what he's talking about?
I don't know.
How could you have a conversation with somebody like that? And then, Brian, don't be mean to me. Well, guess what? Then don't call up and say the earth is flat.
Yeah. But thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Shelley,
Bye.
for calling. I appreciate you, Shelley. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kay. Kay is next up on PTL. Hey, Kay.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I've been watching your show. It's just something I want to bring to your attention. You know how these people call and say that Kamala Harris and make her way to the top by sleeping with this person and that person? I just want you to bring it to their attention how the Melania Trump got to America. Didn't she come in to find a man to have a better life?
Well, let's be very honest about Melania Trump for a moment. During January 6th, when police officers were being beaten with their own batons, when they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence," and when they stormed the Capitol, Melania Trump refused to put out a statement, and Melania Trump refused to put out a statement, disavowing the violence. Instead, she cared more about what rugs were in the White House and replacing toilet seats because she didn't want to sit on the same toilet that Michelle Obama sat on. Melania Trump is a despicable human being. She cares more about her book and selling her $99 Christmas ornaments than she does about the American people. She is in a contractual marriage. She obviously cannot stand her contractual husband. She makes several appearances a year, and it's disgraceful. Melania Trump is a terrible human being. She clearly did not marry Donald Trump for his lavishly awful looks and his 8 layers of orange makeup. She married him for his money. And that is clearly why she still is married to him. So I have zero respect for Melania Trump. And I think Melania and Donald Trump are two of the same. They're both extremely bad human beings, my dear.
Well, my point here is when these people call into your program, when they're talking about Kamala Harris, you need to let them know that what you think about Melania Trump, who came here as a prostitute trying to find a man to try to live a better life.
Well, I hear you. I hear you. The reason why I don't talk about Melania Trump as much as Donald Trump is because Donald Trump's the president of the United States, and Melania Trump really isn't even the first lady. She doesn't even live in the White House. But I agree with you. Melania Trump isn't a policymaker. Melania Trump isn't putting together the big, beautiful bill. She just shows up in it with a jacket that says, I don't care to you. I mean, but I don't disagree with anything you've said about Melania Trump. Number to call, by the way, 702-221-7283. As we reset the show, what's the stuff that we're talking about today? Well, obviously, we're talking about Donald Trump's meeting with the NATO Secretary General, saying that he's giving Vladimir Putin another 50 days, which is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. We also had Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, on the program. Mark Epstein said that he believes Donald Trump knows what really happened to his brother. He said a lot of other things on the program as well, and we appreciate Mark for joining us as well. Certainly, Mark Epstein didn't do anything wrong. He just wants to know the truth about what happens to his brother. And I think, quite frankly, all of us do. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi do not want the American public to know what is in those files. Again, that number 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Frank. I believe Frank is next up on PTL. Hey, Frank, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
How you doing?
Hey.
I believe, I don't know, a question I want to ask you. Do you think with this Epstein thing going on, do you think this will crack the Republican Party and desolate it?
Well,
that's what I'm...
I appreciate that question. So I talked to Ron Filipowski about that in the show earlier today. And he said, listen, some of these races in 2026 come down to 3%. And if you could get 3% of Republicans, not even to vote for the other side, but just to not vote at all, then that could make a big difference in the midterms and, of course, the 2028 presidential election. So to answer your question, yes, there's a lot of MAGA Republicans that are very upset at Donald Trump. Now, does that mean they're not going to support MAGA candidates that he will endorse? Well, time will tell. But I do think, sir, it will definitely have an impact. That would be the best way I can answer that. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283. Again, that's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Matt. Matt is next up on PTL. Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Hey, I heard that Melania, somehow she got a genius visa. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. To you.
From what I understand, you either had to be like a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't understand how being a nude model qualifies her as for being a genius.
Well, she's not. Well, she's not, obviously. I mean, obviously, anybody who says that Melania Trump is a genius, because I guess she speaks several different languages, anybody who says that she's a genius obviously has zero credibility. I haven't necessarily heard that. I don't think Melania Trump's going to be winning any awards anytime soon. Maybe she deserves an award for being underneath Donald Trump for 15 seconds. Maybe she deserves an award for that. That's maybe the only award that I would give her. I appreciate the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Al. Al is next up on PTL. Hello, Al.
Hey, Brian, how you doing? I've been listening to your show. First, I know every time I say something positive, you always want to take the negative, but I'm going to say something positive. I really liked your, and then I have a question, and then we can get into it, or we can, go negative or whatever you want to do.
I don't go negative. I wouldn't consider it going negative. It's called having
okay, well, anyway, we can get a little contentious, all that. Okay. We'll put it to that way.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, the compliment I do want to give your show, I really liked your guest, okay, that you started out the show with. I hope that one day when you're not around, he can host for you instead of that buffoon you had the last time, which I almost never called again when you went on vacation. Okay, I think your ratings must have gone down.
What do you? I don't even know what you're talking about. Who are you calling a buffoon?
Didn't you have a guy? Didn't you go on vacation and you had somebody take over your spot there for a few days?
Okay, so I have different guests that host the show. Paul is not a buffoon. I don't know why you would call him that.
Well, anyways, okay. Well, that's my opinion.
All right. Well, it's my opinion. You're a buffoon. So let's move on now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. So you said a lot of MAGA Republicans. You said a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what number a lot means, but you said a lot of MAGA Republicans or a lot of Republicans. Let's keep it at Republicans are mad at Donald Trump. Where are you getting this number? Why are we mad at Donald Trump?
Sure. So if you go on Truth Social, and unless you've been living under a rock, and that could be possible, Al, you might live under a rock. If you go on Truth Social, and last I checked, there are not a bunch of liberals and Democrats that are on Truth Social. They're Trump supporters. There are over 50,000 negative comments under Donald Trump when he made a post over the weekend about the Epstein files not being released. There are MAGA Republicans that are yelling amongst themselves, and Dan Bongino even took the day off on Friday. There are a ton of MAGA Republicans that have been very supportive of Donald Trump that are even going on national television that are angry at Donald Trump and Pam Bondi for the way they handled the Epstein files. So it's not my job to inform the uneducated, Al. If you don't understand that there are a lot of people in this country that support Donald Trump that are very angry with how he's handled or mishandled the Epstein files and the fake promises that he's made, then I don't know what to tell you. You're complicit at a minimum, and I'm being nice by saying that.
No, I think, okay. Well, you know what? For me personally, I could care less about the
Okay, well,
Epstein
guess what? I'm not talking about you personally, and I know you could probably care less about people who do horrible things to children. That's on you. But you see, for me, Al, I want to know who's responsible. Whether you can laugh if you'd like. There's nothing funny about children.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
There's nothing funny about children being raped. Okay, Al, and that's what we're talking. Hold on, and that's what we're talking about here. And guess what, Al? I don't care whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, unlike you and so many MAGA, the real MAGA buffoons that are out there. I believe Donald Trump is all over this. Now, why don't you give me a real reason why you think Donald Trump and Pam Bondi don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and don't want to release the files, Al? Why do you think they don't want to release the files? Why do you think that is? Could it be maybe because Donald Trump might be all over it? Because Jeffrey Epstein's former best friend might have been in the Epstein files? You think they might be hiding something? Did that ever occur to you? Or do you not care about that either?
Well, I honestly don't care about that. And they have
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. They don't care. Yeah, they have a right to plead the fifth. But yet I'm sure you were the first person to complain about Joe Biden's doctor pleading the fifth. Did you have a problem with Joe Biden's doctor pleading the fifth?
No, I didn't have it because I do believe that it's Biden's response. It's a private matter, and if he doesn't want to share his health, the status of his health, that's up to him, and we'll leave it up to the public opinion, the court of public opinion.
Oh, okay. So why do you think Donald Trump isn't releasing the Epstein files then?
He doesn't want. I don't know.
You don't know?
He is
educated guess.
Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't have to. Does he have to?
I didn't say he had to. That's not the question. The question is why. Why do you think?
I don't know. I have no. Why do I think? I have no idea.
No educated guess.
You want me to make a hypothesis? Is that what you're saying? An educated guess?
You seem to make hypotheses about everything else, right? You think the Joe Biden family is.
All
right. Well, let's find out. Let's put that to test. Do you think Joe Biden is part of the crime family? You think they've committed crimes? The Biden family? You think Joe Biden's a criminal?
Based on the stuff, I think that they weren't as transparent as they could have been. I think there's a possibility they committed a crime.
Okay, so you think there's a possibility that Joe Biden committed a crime. You have no problem making a hypothesis there, but you don't want to make a hypothesis as to why Donald Trump isn't releasing the Epstein files. Do I have that right?
Let me tell you something about hypothesis.
Please do. Yeah.
The hypothesis comes from when you have a question about something, you research, go learn about the scientific process.
How many years have MAGA Republicans been questioning Jeffrey Epstein in a supposed list?
A lot of years. I don't know.
Exactly.
I'm just asking
Exactly.
But you know what? But me, I really don't. I don't have enough information to form a hypothesis. First, you have to do the research.
But you have enough. But you have enough information that Joe Biden committed crimes.
Well, I did a little bit of research on that. So
okay. What crimes did Joe Biden? What crimes? What? No, you just said there's a possibility that you think Joe Biden might have committed some crimes. What would the charges be?
Well, I don't know what the charges would be, but I think that it's very, very skeptical of what happened when he went down to Ukraine with his son. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot of transparency. Why is the son on the plane all the time? Why is the son getting all this money?
So you care about transparency and you care about Joe Biden's son getting money. Did you care about Jared Kushner getting $2.1 billion from the Saudis? Did you care about Donald Trump's daughter getting over $600 million in Chinese trademarks? Did you care about that? Was there transparency there, Al?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
You don't know. You haven't looked that up. I find it very convenient that you haven't looked up all the money that Jared Kushner got, which was somewhere around $2.1 billion from the Saudis, but you haven't, quote, looked that up. But you seem to know so much about Hunter Biden, who, by the way, never worked in the Joe Biden administration, and Jared Kushner, who was the Secretary of State, who got $2.1 billion from the Saudis, who worked in Donald Trump's administration, and his own daughter, who received over $600 million from the Saudis. But you haven't looked that up. Don't you find that a little interesting, Al, that you haven't looked up a guy who worked in Donald Trump's administration, who got a $2.1 billion check from the Saudis, but you seem to know everything about Joe Biden, even though you can't name a crime, a charge, and you seem to know so much about Hunter Biden, who never worked in the Joe Biden administration. Very interesting, Al.
No, I don't. I did. No, I just never. Really
I know you never. I know you never read about it. I understand. If it's a Republican that needs to be held to account, or somebody that you voted for, you play stupid and you don't do any research. But if it comes to Hunter Biden and his laptop, you do all the research in the world. Al, give me a break.
Okay, not a problem. All right. Well, anyways, have a nice day. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes. Thank you for proving how stupid you are once again, Al. Thank you for the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. What do you think about Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis? Oh, I don't know. I didn't do my research on that, but let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, you frickin' moron, you inbred idiot. Let's go to Eric. Eric is next up on PTL. What's up, Eric?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I got a couple things. I've never called into a show before, so first of all, thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
About this Epstein thing, okay? Now, it seems like he has worked for the Mossad. From what I've heard, he's worked for the Mossad. Now, if you trace this thing from, the Republican senators and congressmen, Epstein, it seems like they vote for everything for Israel. Everything, no matter what it is, it's for Israel. It seems like this Epstein thing, you can draw a line straight from Congress, straight to Israel, and straight to Epstein. I mean, it's so obvious.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I also want to be very clear on this, and I said this on the Piers Morgan show last week. Just because you criticize the Israeli government does not mean you are anti-Semitic. I have criticized the Israeli government. I have criticized Benjamin Netanyahu. I believe Benjamin Netanyahu has played Donald Trump like a fiddle. We should have never gotten involved with the war with Iran. And I believe this is Israel's war to fight, not ours. And, I believe it's totally warranted. And I find it interesting. Don't you find it interesting, sir, that we could throw all this money to Israel, $450 billion, by the way, we've given to Israel, but yet when it comes to Ukraine, they don't want to put any money to Ukraine, and they seem to be pro-Putin. But when it comes to Israel, we can throw all the money in the world at Benjamin Netanyahu, and if you criticize America for that, somehow that makes you anti-Semitic. Well, guess what? I disagree.
I disagree as well, because anytime you say anything negative about Israel, you're an anti-Semite. That makes no sense.
No, let me tell you something. When you say death to Israel, that makes you an anti-Semite. When you criticize the Israeli government, that means you're criticizing a foreign entity, a government. It doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic.
Absolutely. If you look at Netanyahu, I believe Netanyahu is controlling Trump. I believe Netanyahu is controlling the Republican congressmen and senators through these Epstein files. I believe the Epstein files are probably in Israel. because
they're somewhere.
the control he has over these people. The control he has over these people makes no sense.
I don't disagree with you. Listen, the Epstein files are somewhere. Is there a list? There's certainly names of people that are prominent people. There are probably some Democrats, probably some Republicans. I just happen to think Donald Trump happens to be one of those people. And yes, I agree with your sentiment. We can criticize the Israeli government. It does not mean you're anti-Semitic. Do I think Rashida Tlaib is anti-Semitic? Yes. Do I think Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic? Yes. But just because you criticize the Israeli government does not mean you're anti-Semitic. $450 billion to Israel. And look at what's going on in Texas right now. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hey, Paul, what's going on, man?
And thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
I just got three things which come up as I listen to your show over the weeks. So just three things I'd like to say. First thing is, and in America, you won't know this. I doubt you will know of this. We have a documentary program called Panorama, which is very highly respected. It's been around since I was a kid. They did a documentary called Is Donald Trump a Sex Pest?, in which they interviewed some of the people you often talk about who have accused him of these crimes. And this document, the panoramas are irrefutable. They only work on facts. What's interesting is that they were never sued after they made this documentary. And if you can watch it in America, which I'm not sure you can, it is on YouTube. I would recommend watching it, because after watching that documentary, you'll have no doubt about that Donald Trump is a sex pest, and he did attack these women. You'll have no doubt. That's the first thing I want to put. It's really worth trying to hook it out if you can. The second two, a couple of other points about his character, which I often talk about. And this is an interesting story. I read in the book by Freddie Trump, his nephew.
Yep.
He tells this story about how Donald Trump was playing golf and was mocking one of his opponents. This guy had enough of it and laid Trump out with a punch. And Trump did nothing. Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Bone Spurs, Mr. I could have been as good as a general, etc., etc. Mr. Tough Guy did nothing. So that's point two. Because we all know he's.
Well, we know that Donald Trump. We know that Taco Trump is a coward. We know that he's had yes people around him his entire life. We know he dodged the military multiple times with his fake and phony bone spurs. We know that Donald Trump is a big wussy, and he's probably one of the most insecure people on the planet. But that's what makes him so dangerous, because if you coddle his ego and you praise him like the way Benjamin Netanyahu has, then we get into an ill-advised war, and he believes the Israeli intelligence over our own, which told us that the Iran nuclear capabilities were not furthering. We know that from Tulsi Gabbard, who testified under oath a few months ago. If you coddle Donald Trump and you play to his ego, he will give you what you want. That's what makes him so dangerous.
Absolutely easy to manipulate. This is why I've never put any mind by the so-called P tapes. You don't need the P tapes to manipulate this guy. You just need to tell him he's the most handsome president in the U.S. history.
Yeah, well, it worked.
What you do.
It worked. Melania Trump. You get rich. Look at what happened to Melania Trump. She just has a forced kiss on the cheek, and look at all the money she's getting paid in that contractual marriage. Have you ever seen a quote unquote fake couple be so awkward with one another? I mean, she doesn't want to be in the same zip code as this guy. It's so obvious.
It makes you want to watch them together. He'd be better off not being with her at all, because it's so embarrassing whenever they interact. You can see that she wants to be 100 yards away from him. She wants a restraining order on his hand. She just can't stand being anywhere within touching distance of this.
Yeah, well, guy. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for her, because she's the one who decided to marry him for the money. So
she's as bad as him.
Yeah.
And I remember what she did with the birtherism, how she was on there saying, doing her speech, saying, "It's not me who wants it; it's the American people who want to see the certificate."
Buy my book. Buy my book. Let me tell you something. If you look up in the dictionary what a gold digger is, you'll see Melania Trump's picture right there. Trust me.
And by the way, she speaks 7 languages, according to Donald Trump, even though she can barely speak pidgin English. And the one last quick story, but I think it's very important, this story, is in Mary Trump's book, which is excellent on Donald. She said when Melania was introduced to the family, one of the family members said to Melania, "That's a lovely accent. Where are you from?" And Melania said, "Slovenia." And Trump, in front of everybody, said, Next time somebody asks, don't say Slovenia, say Austria. It sounds better. And that tells you everything about this fake reality world that he lives in, where even the trivia you lie about, if it's a better spin.
Yeah.
Even trivia,
It's true.
fluent to him. There's no such thing as lying. There's just his version of the truth.
Yeah.
And it's super dangerous.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that the only language that Melania Trump speaks is orange orangutan green money language. That's the only language she speaks. Paul, it's good to hear from you, my friend. You have a good one. By the way, sources with CNN are now saying that Dan Bongino has somehow magically shifted his mindset. Now he's back at work today. Yeah, what a shocker that is. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Brad. Brad is next up on PTL. Hey, Brad, what's going on, man?
Hey, just a segue here. It's my understanding that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump. That's
the rumor.
Can do their own research.
That's the rumor. Yeah. I have heard that as well. I don't know if that's true or not, but here's what we do know, my friend. Jeffrey Epstein's on audio saying Donald Trump was his best friend. Donald Trump was on the Epstein flight log 7 times. We learned that in the Maxwell case, and we also know that
with his teenage daughter on one of those flights.
Correct, and we also know that Jeffrey Epstein was on Donald Trump's private plane as well. So we know that. I haven't seen any pictures.
And he rented that plane after Epstein's death for the 2024 campaign.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
He
Interesting, isn't it, that I don't see any pictures with Joe Biden with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't see any pictures of Barack Obama with Jeffrey Epstein. I haven't seen any pictures Kamala Harris with Jeffrey Epstein. Very interesting that the person who doesn't want to release the files and doesn't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein is the same guy that was once Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Is there anybody out there that would reasonably believe that Donald Trump wasn't on Epstein Island?
In your earlier questioning, I think his name was Al. You were trying to get to the heart of why do Republicans care about this issue. They cared about it when Clinton gave Jeffrey Epstein a pardon, which was improper, and he was on the flight log with his wife. So, I mean, it's a both sides thing. This is not just Democrats or Republicans. Epstein was manipulating multiple people in both parties.
Yeah, good call, my friend. I'm glad you brought that stuff up. We're also learning some breaking news that the Supreme Court is allowing President Donald Trump to continue to dismantle the Department of Education. This country is going down the tubes as we know it, and it's because of a 34-count felon adjudicated rapist who happens to be the president of the United States, which millions of Americans voted for. I hope you guys are happy. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next up on PTL. Hey, Tom, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to point out one kind of a thing that the MAGAs seem to not understand. If you hang out with somebody for 15 years, especially somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, do you think Jeffrey would want to hang out with you if you weren't a pedophile?
It's a good point. It's a good point. Why was Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein hanging out so much? Because I believe Donald Trump is a pedophile. That's why I believe he's no better than Jeffrey Epstein. And I also believe that Donald Trump had something to do with Jeffrey Epstein's death. I absolutely believe that as well.
Oh, I do too. There's no question about it. I mean, you listen to Jeffrey's brother and Mark goes through the whole thing, and it's completely unlikely he killed himself. 2 days. He only had 2 days before he was going to trial to get not a pardon, but a bail.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I don't see why he would. Yeah. Why would he kill himself after
he didn't.
knowing that he only had 2 days?
He didn't. There was with the money that Jeffrey Epstein had. If bail was set, which it might have been set, Jeffrey Epstein, if he wanted to take his own life, he certainly would have waited until that court date, at least. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. I hope Maxwell spills the beans. I don't know if she ever will, but there's no doubt in my mind. Anybody can tell when Donald Trump is lying. He does it every single day. And now all of a sudden, Trump doesn't want to talk about Epstein. It's interesting, his base of supporters want him to attack transgenders all day, which he usually does, attack gay people, attack brown people, attack migrants. His own supporters want him to talk about Epstein. It's the one thing he refuses to do now. I wonder why. All right, who are we going to next here? Let's see. Let's go to Joe. Joe is next up on PTL. Hey, Joe, what's going on?
Oh, how you doing, Brian?
Good.
I'm really distressed about this Supreme Court. I just can't wrap my head around why first of all, they even let him run, and then they didn't grant a career criminal immunity. That's like giving Al Capone or John Gotti immunity. They're going to break the law.
It's very simple.
You know what I'm saying?
It's very simple.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump walked into a McDonald's and his name was something else, John Smith, they would have him fill out a form. They would ask him if he was ever convicted of a felony. He would have to admit that he's a 34-count felon. Most fast food restaurants wouldn't even hire him to work at the cashier, yet he's the president of the United States, and I think that says it all.
Maybe it's the Jeffrey Epstein stuff coming out. Maybe he's got something on Roberts and maybe a couple other justices why they let him have his way so much.
I mean,
what do you make of that?
I think that's a possibility. I think it's very obvious that when Donald Trump doesn't want to answer a question because he has something to hide, it could be about his health records, it could be about his transcripts, it could be about his taxes, or it could be about his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein. He doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't want the general public to know.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't a part of the Epstein files, it would have been released on day one. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, I get that. Loud and clear. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to the MAGA Destroyer. It wouldn't be a show without Darlene, the MAGA Destroyer. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Brian, let's have a talk. Now, I want everybody out there to listen because I got a good point coming up. Now, Brian, I'm going to talk to you, Brian. Okay, Trump has already admitted that he used to grab women's twats, and he also admitted that he went into the teenage girls' pageants and he looked at them naked because he could do that because he's the owner. Well, if he's willing to admit that, what in the hell is in those files that he won't admit? Think about it.
Oh, right? Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
I mean, how bad is it?
Listen,
he admitted that.
Here's what we know for sure. As you know, Darlene, Donald Trump's own ex-wife claimed that he raped her in court documents. Donald Trump is a liable, adjudicated rapist. Donald Trump has 25 plus women that have accused him of rape or sexual assault. Donald Trump bragged about sexually assaulting women. Donald Trump has never been faithful on one woman his entire life. Donald Trump at one point was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He's on the flight log 7 times. These are not opinions. These are facts.
And if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. And another thing, Brian, Al, how dare you? Shame on you. Let me talk for all the young women, little innocent girls that got molested by these creepy old men. How dare you say that you don't care?
Yeah.
Well, we care.
There are MAGA, thank you, Darlene. There are MAGA Republicans across the country where if Donald Trump sodomized a child on video, they would still support him. That's why we call you idiots a cult. You are a clan cult is what you are. That's what you are. You are in a clan cult. And there is nothing that Donald Trump can do or say that will change your mind because you're all a bunch of cultist buffoons that are uneducated and ill-informed. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hello, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, bud?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
I've just been watching you, man, and I watch. Maybe it's not enough as much as I should, but I just want to say a few things. I'm here in Orange County, California. I served in the Marine Corps to get my college degree because my parents didn't have any money. I'm originally from Wisconsin. Orange County, California was actually deep red until Trump showed up, and a lot of the, rock rib Republicans are kind of disgusted. So now it's kind of a purple area. But I just want to give you a commendation or a thumbs up on the way you treated that guy that came in with those conspiracy theories because, I voted Republican my whole life until Trump showed up. And like this weird dystopia that we're in where these people are like, they used to say, facts don't care about your feelings and all this other stuff. But now when facts come to them, all of a sudden their feelings get hurt. Or if the shoe was on their foot and you were like somebody was spewing these insane conspiracy theories that had been debunked like years ago, like they would be way more mean and they would be trashing you and trashing everybody and calling MAGAs freaks Dems freaks and weirdos, all this other shit. And yet when they do it and then you tell them like, dude, you're a dumbass, he gets all butthurt and is like, why are you being mean to me? Do your own research. And it's like, well, you made it's just, we
Jason,
can't, the only way to defeat this stuff is just to mock them and make fun of them.
I agree.
The only thing
I agree. So, Jason, this is important to say, Jason. First of all, thank you for your service. You're a hero. And, it was Donald Trump. And by the way, I don't care whether you're a Republican. You sound like a really smart guy, and you obviously have a moral compass, and I appreciate you. But whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, as much as I despise Ron DeSantis and J.D. Vance, I would never crap on their military service. He called people like you suckers and losers. He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured.
When he made that comment about John McCain, I was out right away because I love John McCain.
Right. He's a hero. John McCain was a hero. And I ask myself, Jason, and I don't know if you've talked to fellow service members, how could any brave man or woman who served in the military, who served, support Donald Trump? Like, I just don't understand it, Jason. I don't get it.
They make excuses. I know I have a lot of Marine Corps friends that are MAGA, and they pretend, they like go around it, they ignore it. They're like, well, he's doing everything I wanted, and I'm like, no, he's not. And I give them facts, and they skirt around it. And the problem our country is in now is we used to have an agreed set of facts, and then we would debate how to correct those facts, whether it be left leaning or right leaning or somewhere in the center, and then we'd come up with an idea and fix it. But now there is no agreed upon facts. They're just being fed bullshit. And so you can't even have a proper debate, and you can't even solve the problem because they're not even getting the truth.
And here's a perfect example. Here's a perfect example. Guy calls in the show today and he says he believes in Pizzagate. How can you have a conversation with somebody like that?
That was the guy that made me call you. Was that shit?
I can't have a serious conversation. I can't have, watch the language, my friend. Can't have a serious conversation. That's okay. Can't have a serious conversation with somebody who believes in Pizzagate. I can't have a serious conversation with somebody who says Trump won the 2020 election. You can't. You can't have a serious conversation. Now, if somebody wants to call in and they want to have policy conversations, or they think Trump's doing a great job on immigration, and fine, I'll have a conversation with them, even though I'll disagree. But when someone believes in Pizzagate, a conspiracy theory that moron Jack Posobiec started, by the way, people's lives were in jeopardy because of that conspiracy theory that was completely debunked. There was no basement in Pizzagate where they had pedophiles in there, where the Clintons were involved. I mean, it's just bat, what crazy stuff. And the fact that there are people, the fact that people out there believe it, they're just lost. You can't talk to these people. They're lost, Jason.
Yeah, well, the problem is now we got people in Congress that are spreading conspiracy theories. So if the guys making our laws that are in charge of fixing the problems of the country, because our country is, never perfect, it's always trying to improve. How are we going to improve this country if we have a large majority in Congress that are like spreading lies about it?
I'm wondering, Jason, somebody like you that risked your life for this country, which I will always have a tremendous amount of respect for. How do you feel the fact that there are people in this country that are not getting due process, that Donald Trump is above the law and the Supreme Court has given him immunity? And it appears as though, to me, at least, our democracy is in jeopardy. As someone like yourself, who I'm sure takes all of those topics very seriously, you risked your life for this country. How does that make you feel to know that?
Well, that's the other great hypocrisy that I get from my MAGA Marine friends, is that they say that all the corrupt politicians should be rooted out of government and drain the swamp, and they should all be held to the highest, they should be punished more than anyone because we put our trust in them. But then when Donald Trump gets indicted for the classified docs, for the coup, for fraud, for all this stuff, they go, oh no, weaponization of the DOJ. He should have immunity. He should be off. So it's just like this constant double speak, like hypocrisy. I mean, the only way I can describe it is a cult. I mean, because you can't say all politicians should be held accountable and nobody's above the law. But then when Dear Leader gets indicted with facts, like I sent them the indictments. I'm like, dude, the coup case is very strong. But if anything else, the classified docs case is airtight.
He defied a subpoena for a year. Jason, here's the bottom line, and I agree with everything.
And he lied.
Yep.
And he lied.
And he lied.
Yep.
They're more, listen, like MAGA Republicans are more upset at Hunter Biden selling his artwork than Donald Trump raping a woman. How can you have a conversation with these people? They're more upset at Hunter Biden.
No. Don't even use the rape thing. They're more mad about Hunter Biden, who was not in government, selling some paintings, than they are about Trump launching a freaking meme coin and cashing in from anonymous people through crypto, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah, no, you're right, Jason. I appreciate
the crypto.
Go ahead.
Crypto thing is probably like one of the biggest things that
it's a Ponzi scheme.
Obviously now
it's a multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme.
Well, he promised to release. Yeah, it's a huge Ponzi, and he promised to release the Epstein files. Everyone did. Then this weekend he says, "Oh, never mind. The Epstein files are fake, so MAGA should stop asking about it." And it was all created by Obama. If they're fake, then release them, and then show how corrupt Obama and Hillary or whatever, who else he put in that post.
He won't do that. You know why? You know why he won't do that? Because he's in the files. That's why. I guarantee you.
Well, exactly. He's like a 5-year-old. Like he thinks that his base is stupid, and a lot of them aren't buying it. But like, really, you think we're gonna buy that? Like, you think his voters are that stupid?
I'm glad you're not in his base, Jason. I appreciate your service, and you sound like a really smart guy too. And I'm proud that people like you listen to the show. Please call back again soon, okay, brother? I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll do that, man. Keep it the good work.
Thanks, Jason. Great phone call, my friend. And I love that there are people out there like Jason who are listening. Proud of that. Obviously, someone who served, who is a lifelong Republican, it sounds like, but refused to support Donald Trump. Gosh, I have so much respect for him. Let's go to Shirley. Shirley is next up on PTL. What's up, Shirley?
Yes, hi, Brian. You have the best show.
Oh, thank you.
Because you are the real thing. You don't leave no stone unturned.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed listening to you. I wish you had 150 million listeners. But what I want to say to you is, when your callers is calling, I do not ever hear you ask them if they want Trump. All these women supporters, especially women old enough to have children, ask them what they want. Would they want Donald Trump to marry their daughter?
Well, of course, of course they won't. Shirley, it's a really good question. I'm sorry, I'm up against the clock, Shirley. I appreciate your call. That's a question that they're cowards. They won't answer. Would you let Donald Trump babysit your kids? A lot of these MAGA supporters, they're cowards. Of course, they won't answer that question. But Shirley, you're right. It's a very important question to ask. They won't answer it, Shirley. And I appreciate your kind words. It really means a lot, Shirley. Try to get to as many calls as I get here in a couple minutes. Let's go to Catherine. Hey, Catherine.
Hi. I'm very angry and I'm very upset. This has been going on. Well, I'm a teacher, special education, and a lot of these kids that are on Medicaid are going to basically be thrown back into regular classrooms. And as the parents are aging, they don't know what to do. I mean, as you age, these kids are losing their Medicaid and they don't know what they're going to do. I have been teaching for 18 years. And basically, when I signed up for this, as far as health insurance was concerned, my paycheck would not, I would not even be making any money just to have health insurance. So I am on Medicaid, and it just absolutely makes me so angry.
Well, they're liars. Get
a job.
Yeah.
You're scum. No, I'm not scum. I care about these kids, and I also care about myself because I go to the pharmacy today and I find out I'm type 2 diabetic for 9 years.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
And what's going to happen is I am going to have to get a second job.
Right.
And my hours are going to be cut,
let me tell you,
because...
And I'm sorry I'm up against the clock because I don't want to cut you off, but I want to say this. First of all, I'm sorry for what you're going through. Thank you for what you do as a teacher. I respect you so much for that. I fight for people like you on this show every day. The big and beautiful bill doesn't guarantee that you're going to continue to get your health benefits. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to continue to get the medication. It's certainly not going to lower your taxes. And I try to fight for people like you because you sound like a wonderful woman, and I want you to get the health care that you deserve. And I'm sorry you have to get a second job. It's not right. Thank you for listening to this show, and thank you for what you do. I appreciate you. Before we go, I want to thank everybody in the YouTube Super Chat who has made comments in there. We'll get to those in a moment. Also, very excited to announce once again the Really American Media Network. Glad to be a part of that. Thank you to, of course, Justin Horowitz and Kenny Hess with the Really American Network. And Kenny's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Shelley says Trump's been playing for Putin from day one. When he first ran, who's laughed at him from day one, and he had no idea what Pete was doing. Well, you're right, Shelley. I certainly appreciate you. Paul Lance. Paul's a great guy who filled in for me. Paul's going to do that again. Congrats on the partnership, my friend. You deserve it. Well, thank you, Paul. John Stanhouse, thank you for your donation. We appreciate you as well. And check out my website, pushingthelimits.live, Jackson's Bar and Grill, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. They have a great gaming promotion on Wednesdays and Saturdays. If you earn 500 points, you get a chance to be in this scratch-off where you could win up to $50 in free slot play. Great food, great promotions. Check them out, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill. We will be back at it again. I welcome the PTL family, welcomes everybody on the Really American Media Network. So glad to be a part of that. And again, thank you to Justin Horowitz and Kenny Hess. Kenny will be joining us on the show tomorrow. Some more special guests will be joining us also on the show tomorrow. We got some great guests lined up for the rest of the week. I love you guys. Support my YouTube page. We just passed 124,000 subscribers. Hit that like button, and we will see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Remy Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip.